Things just got really bleak for the New York Jets and the future of Aaron Rodgers, and you really can't help but just feel sick for the team, for Rodgers, and just Jets fans in general. The scene at MetLife Stadium heading into the game was one of the most electrifying atmospheres I've seen for an NFL game in quite some time. Being on 9/11, the first home game of Aaron Rodgers in a Jets uniform in primetime, it was an absolutely unbelievable scene, and to see what transpired the very first drive of Aaron Rodgers in a Jets uniform is just sickening. I've said on this channel for a while now that I was very concerned with the Jets offensive line. I didn't like their depth. I especially didn't like their tackles in Dwayne Brown and Mekhi Becton. Dwayne Brown is around a 40-year-old left tackle who the Jets are asking to protect the blind side of their quarterback. And then Mekhi Becton, he hasn't played in really 2 years. And in the preseason, he didn't look super good either. And then in the interior, Laken Tomlinson, he had a really bad year last year. So there was a lot of questions regarding this offensive line, and that's what I was really concerned about derailing their season. And I truly do take no pleasure in saying this, but that was really what is probably going to derail their season. I mean, Aaron Rodgers wasn't even able to complete a pass. I mean, the first 4 passes that he had, he was hit on every single one of those plays. And before he did get hurt, I was like, man, I knew this offensive line was going to be bad, but I didn't think it was going to be this bad. So when he went down, I was honestly a little bit confused because it did not look super severe. Initially, I thought it was just a sprained ankle. He was going to get it taped up and then come right back into the game. But then that's when they showed the cart. He was being carted into the locker room to get x-rays. And then that's when I kind of realized, hey, this is a pretty serious injury. And then, of course, you scroll through your Twitter timeline, you see all the Twitter doctors saying, oh, hey, it might be an Achilles tear. Hey, it's probably an Achilles injury. And then that's when the realization starts to set in that, hey, this may be the end of his season and maybe even the end of his career. It is without a doubt the end of his season. Achilles tendon surgery and reconstruction takes at least 6 to 9 months to come back. And being a professional athlete, I'm sure it takes even a little bit longer than that to get to 100% and be able to play professional football. So we know that his year is done, but outside of that and even the future for Rodgers and the Jets, I feel like it's very bleak now, because even going into this season, there were some questions if he was going to retire, if he wanted to play football, if he wanted to play football for the Packers or for the Jets or whoever. And now that he's 40 years old, coming off of a very serious injury, you just wonder, does he want to go through all that rehab and then come back onto the field and still have some unknowns about if he can play at a high level or not? So obviously, I don't think we're going to hear anything about his future with the Jets, at least for a few months, but just a terrible beginning to, and honestly, a really, really good game. And I want to get into that a little bit. The Jets as a team actually really impressed me. Going into tonight, I wasn't super high on the Jets. I knew their defense was going to be pretty good, but I didn't think it was going to be that good. And I think they made a really loud statement against the Bills tonight, forcing Josh Allen into 4 turnovers, 3 interceptions from Jordan Whitehead. Allen also had like a butt fumble 2.0. He bobbled the snap and then ran into his own offensive lineman and fumbled the ball once again. So that defense is legit. DJ Reed, Sauce Gardner, they looked as good as ever. Jordan Whitehead now in the secondary, he's playing better at safety than anybody they had last year. And then their defensive line, with how much depth they have on there, it's pretty ridiculous. Jermaine Johnson had a sack tonight. He had multiple pressures throughout the game. Will McDonald, their first round pick, he looked pretty nice as well. Carl Lawson didn't even play. They still have Bryce Huff as well. And then on the interior, you have John Franklin Myers, you have Quinnen Williams, and even their linebackers really showed out tonight. That would be CJ Mosley and Quincy Williams. They were all over the field. So their defensive personnel may be at the top of the league. And you go over to their offense, and Breece Hall looked a lot better than I thought he was going to look to start the year. When a player suffers an injury like that, you wonder how long it's going to take for them to be fully 100% and be able to perform at a high level again. I mean, he showed out tonight. He almost had 150 total yards and only like 11 touches. And he had like a 70-yard run where you can fully see his explosiveness still is there. So I was really impressed with Breece Hall. And then you have to talk about Garrett Wilson, who made an insane catch in the corner of the end zone on a fade route against Tre'Davious White. I actually thought White played pretty good defense, but it was just an insane catch and effort by Garrett Wilson. He basically tipped the ball to himself and then caught it with one hand. And a little side note to that, I actually was really happy to see Zach Wilson come in the middle of the game and actually come out with the victory for the Jets. He didn't play super great. I mean, he had the interception early when he came into the game and he looked like, you know, the same old Zach Wilson. But after that, he really settled in. He made some key throws, especially late in the game. And it was just kind of cool to see a player that has been one of the laughing stocks of the NFL for the past couple of years just have a little bit of success even on, you know, just one night. But Robert Saleh confirmed that he's going to be the team's starting quarterback for the rest of the season. I did wonder if the Jets were going to trade for a veteran, maybe like a Jameis Winston and Andy Dalton, or just one of those other key veterans that are on the market. I still think that's an option to be a backup or an insurance policy for Zach Wilson, but it does seem like he is going to be their quarterback one this year, and now the Jets are kind of in a familiar spot where they were last year. And in the end, I think their 2023 season is going to come down to how much has Zach Wilson improved. And then some quick hitters on the Bills. I thought their run defense was pretty poor. You can definitely see the defense missing Tremaine Edmonds and just a big interior presence to help out the middle of the run defense. And Josh Allen, man, I mean, he probably played one of the worst games of his career. I feel like all he had to do in the second half was take care of the ball, not make careless plays, and the Bills probably would have won the game pretty easily. But he had multiple turnovers inside of his own 40-yard line, and that's really going to cost your team. I like that he took ownership for it. He admitted in the press conference, hey, we lost because of me. But man, he's got to be a lot better than that if the Bills are going to be a legit Super Bowl contender this year. But overall, a really, really good game. Definitely one of the best games of the weekend. I think it's right up there with the Dolphins-Chargers game. I mean, that game had a lot of fireworks, a lot of scoring. This game was more timely plays. Both defenses played pretty well, but just how the game ended with the 50-yard field goal doinking in off the upright, and then the kickoff return from Xavier Gibson, the Hard Knocks legend, was just insane to watch, just a walk-off touchdown. But yeah, I want to make a quick recap for you guys about my thoughts regarding Aaron Rodgers and the Jets and where they kind of go from here. Still think they're going to be pretty solid this year because they have an amazing defense and they have a pretty nice running game as well with Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook. So it's going to come down to Zach Wilson and if he can rally the troops. But I want to know what you guys think about Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets and where you think they kind of go from here, and also how many games you still predict them to win this season. But subscribe to the channel if you're new, drop a like on the video if you did enjoy it, and as always, thank you so much for watching the video, and I'll catch you guys in my next one.